Now so more than ever in DBD, survivors are extremely spoiled for choice. They have access to so much busted shit at the moment, to the point where I would easily say this is the most survivor side of the game has been since pre-patch 6.1.0. Some perks allow you to heal at the speed of light, resetting minutes worth of the killer's pressure in a matter of seconds, while others provide free health states or even hook states with zero counterplay. There were times in between, like in 2023, when survivors had access to Made for this and For the People Buckle Up at the same time, allowing them to move 3% faster while injured permanently and get your teammates off the ground instantly, leading to an uncounterable save where you both get endurance. But that was about it. Nowadays, there are so many more hilariously broken perks that will not be addressed because they're on the survivor side. Nerf Deadman Switch to incentivize people to tunnel and just play Blight, by the way. So anyways, I've conceived a list of the most horrifically bullshit things to go against right now and why they're broken. I know this isn't the typical type of video you'd expect from me. You're here to see my controversial takes and original ideas, but my spin on this video is, instead of explaining how best to use these perks like other best survivor perk videos, I think a lot of these perks are genuinely extremely unhealthy for the game, along with the ridiculous palette density changes that will not be reverted because it's a survivor thing, making already broken maps unplayable as anything below an A tier, as Kursu gets gutted and likely New Myers gets gutted and Blight remains unchanged. I will be offering solutions, but a lot of this will be me just complaining. From old meta staples still untouched, to newcomers power creeping older perks, today at Watch Mojo we'll be counting down the top 10 most broken survivor perks right now. Number 10, Deliverance. Starting off with an oldie and a compy favorite, Deliverance needs no real introduction. It's essentially only powerful in a coordinated swift where people know not to rescue you. It's super healthy to make the best thing in the game even stronger, right? And I still think people underestimate just how much time it takes for one survivor to come across the map for a hook save. If a survivor is on a hook, there's usually one other survivor being chased by the killer or bothered by them in some way, one survivor progressing a single generator, and another survivor coming for the hook save to rescue and heal the hooked survivor. With Deliverance, it allows two survivors to be AFK on gens, essentially doubling your efficiency for a long time. This is mathematically broken, and often if the 70-second hook timer is nearly up and the survivor isn't saved, a killer will come back to the hook wondering what's going on, hoping for a trade, only for the survivor to jump off in their face, gaining double the endurance and haste, by the way, which happens with all self-unhooks, and the survivor will almost always be running Decisive Strike 2, leading the killer with no real options as gens get slammed out in the background at double the rate. It's only good in Swift, and it's kind of a rare sight, so it hasn't been nerfed for like 5-6 years, but it can really annihilate your pressure, especially in endgame. So how would I fix this? I'd likely just keep it the way it is right now, but have it disable anti-tunnel perks with a conspicuous action, so the killer isn't literally stuck in a lose-lose and there's some risk to using it. It's not just brain-dead pressure. You do have to unhook a survivor to get it, so it's not like that free, but still. This would keep its core strength and identity without feeling too cheesy, but that's just my thoughts. Not a great rework, I know. It would still be way too good in my opinion. Number 9, Reassurance. Reassurance has pure intentions, so what makes this perk so bad? It exists to stop the toxic killers from camping, right? Well, on its own, the effect is already pretty stupid as it lasts for a full 30 seconds, giving the survivors way more time to think, reset, or AFK on gens. People have realized that with tunneling becoming such a prevalent issue, it's often best to let the survivor hang on hook for a while instead of just instantly farming them, as they are untouchable while on that hook. Reassurance's goal seems to be a noble one, so what's the issue? Well, you can't beat every team by 12 hooking and playing nice. If you aren't playing a super strong killer, or don't have a super strong build, especially in this meta, you will sometimes basically be forced to tunnel if you want any chance of winning, because the math is just rigged against you as killer. Honestly, this is more of an issue with the game itself, but sometimes objectively the correct play that you need to make is just to proxy camp the survivor and wait for them to be unhooked. But how are you supposed to do that when they get 30 more seconds added to their already long 70-second hook timer for free, and they can still get anti-camp, by the way? Oh yeah, just go chase another person on your M1 killer with 300 brain-dead god pallets and leave your good position. I'm sure that'll work well. What's even more ridiculous is if you have multiple people running this, you can sometimes leave someone on the hook for like multiple minutes at a time. You can get like multiple minutes off a single hook stage, and this can happen every single hook stage in the game. It's complete madness. This is incredibly rare to see, but it's unbelievably game-breaking, and once again is only really strong and swift. Still though, is the base design of this perk bad? I'd say no. To fix it, I'd say just keep the 30 seconds, but only allow it to be used once per survivor, counting both of their hook states. It would still remain strong as an anti-camp option, and you do have to be pretty close to use it, so the killer at least knows you're nearby, and there's at least 2 survivors off gens. But it can be abused pretty hard, especially when stacking it. In my opinion, it's basically the survivor equivalent of Deadman Switch, but far worse, adding 30 seconds on the objective to every hook. But with DMS, you can at least go and work on another gen, or bait it out on another gen. This is just a lose-lose a lot of the time. Number 8, Conviction. On its own, Conviction is already incredibly strong, but probably reasonably balanced, but it's when you start combining it with other perks like Soul Guard and Plot Twist that it becomes really, really problematic. The idea of Conviction is that it's an anti-slug perk where you have to heal someone else to earn it, including yourself, by the way, which is stupid, and then it effectively offers an infinite use alternative to Unbreakable where you can reposition and go down somewhere else. This on its own is not too broken, and it actually is a pretty cool concept, but its synergy with other perks just breaks it. Plot Twist, to be more specific. Plot Twist just removes the entire downside of this and allows you to down yourself before its effect expires and fully heal, and this heal counts toward your next Conviction, by the way, so you can just get it back. And that's not even mentioning Soul Guard removing the entire risk of using it near the killer. It's already a dumb perk alone because you down a survivor and the timer to get up is so short, it's like 6 seconds. Like you try breaking a pallet or like briefly doing something and bam, they just get up and run away. You didn't even slug. So how would I change this? I would say completely remove the synergy with Plot Twist because it is unbelievably broken, and make the activation requirement like 12 seconds or something to make people not just want to run Unbreakable instead. Sometimes slugging is necessary. If you down a survivor under a pallet and you see another one hovering for a pallet save, well, you can't chase them because the guy you down will get up in 2 seconds, but you can't pick them up because they'll be saved. With Soul Guard, there is legitimately zero counterplay in this situation, and it's only good in Swift. You know, the power roll of the game, like the last 2 perks. It's a lot like how the best slowdowns are even better on Blight the more I think about it, actually. It's like you're buffing the best thing in the game already. This situation has zero counterplay, by the way, and no one cares. Number 7, Hyperfocus and Stake Out. I know it's kind of cheating putting 2 perks in one here, but you rarely see these not run together. The fact that you have to run them both is what makes them not as high as they could be, as you are dedicating half your build to the gimmick. Also, with Stake Out being reliant on being in the killer's terror radius, it doesn't work on every killer, primarily stealth killers, but guess what? Stealth killers tend to be on the weaker end of killers, where you don't need this ridiculous gen speed, and the higher end of killers tend to be the 40-meter terror radius dash killers, where you're constantly in their terror radius getting stacks of Stake Out. So that's honestly fine, you know, but still, it's pretty broken. So what makes these 2 unassuming perks so broken? Well, if you've already noticed, there's a theme on this list for a lot of these perks. A lot of them are second chance perks that you can crutch on after making a mistake. This tends to be one big thing that turns the tide in the favor of the survivors, but the Hyperfocus combo is always there, sometimes practically cutting your gen time in half, which is absolutely ridiculous. You can do a gen solo in like 35 seconds with the right setup multiple times a match. It is insane how long this has gone under the radar, and I don't really hear people talking about it that much. The thing is, to get full value out of this combo, you'll often want to run it with other generator perks or skill check stuff, weakening your chase as you have no exhaustion, or making you more susceptible to tunneling, which the killer will most likely do since the gens are going by so fast. But once you get that perfect game where the killer ignores you the whole match or doesn't find you, and you're left to just gen rush in peace as your Windows Life teammates waste their time in chase, you'll find out the true value of this build. Shortening your objective by this much is so unbelievably game breaking, and nothing even compares to the speed you can get with it. You can even use it with brand new parts. Since those count as a skill check, it is criminal. So how would I fix this? This one I honestly don't know. I think Stake Out is fine, but I think Hyperfocus just needs some number nerfs because the amount of progress you get at 6 stacks is mind-blowing. And again, gens this fast just only hurt the lower end of killers who can't keep up with the pressure by having their chases be equally as fast. Number 6, Unbreakable. You just can't beat the classics. Unbreakable has been a staple meta perk since it came out, and I honestly don't think it's ever been changed. Like, look at these changes. So what makes this better than Conviction when it takes longer to activate and can't activate multiple times a match? Simple. It needs no setup, doesn't rely on other perks at all. If the killer slugs you, you get up, destroying their pressure completely. I honestly think Unbreakable has lost me more close games as killer than any other perk. Like, picture this. It's a tense match, late game. I realized the only way I could turn this around is by slugging everybody. I finally downed the last guy, but nope, Unbreakable Ex Machina from across the map, and then they pick up all their teammates, and they get a full reset, and yeah, all from one perk, by the way. Much like Conviction, sometimes slugging is necessary and objectively the right play to make. But fuck you, the survivor gets a free health state for doing nothing because you outplayed them, so what could be done to such a simple perk? Honestly, it's kind of a necessary evil the way it is, and it's a band-aid fix to hard slugging, which is a solo queue destroyer. I would probably want there to at least be some indication the survivor has it, like maybe a new animation for getting down with Unbreakable, considering we've had the same stupid backflip and flop animations for years. This would be a creative way to let the killer know it's in play and make an educated decision, instead of just being jump scared by having their hard-earned victory outplayed by a perk. That's my idea personally. It wouldn't change the perk at all, it would just add some counterplay. Number 5, Decisive Strike. You just can't beat the classics. DS has been a staple meta perk since it came out, and honestly, it used to be way worse. It's not the place to talk about how it used to be though, you probably know, and I never played against that, thankfully. Nowadays, it just acts as the definitive band-aid fix perk for tunneling. You try to tunnel a survivor off hook, you pick them up, they stab you, stunning you for 4 seconds as they get to a busted filler. As mentioned before, tunneling sometimes is necessary, and survivors have always been able to use it in a cheesy, aggressive way, basically abusing it offensively and using it as an invincibility star to get in the killer's face face with nothing they can do about it. Back in my day, it used to be way worse though, as with Unbreakable, commonly referred to as the small PP build, they could sit there in your face for a minute since doing objectives didn't disable it back then, and there was nothing you could realistically do. Decisive Strike has been infamous for years, and there's never really been a time where it hasn't been meta, even with the 3-second stun it used to have. Remember when they tried adding an animation to this in a PTB that was so bad? The jankiest, shittiest, most shovelware animation ever, they just gave up. Yeah, nobody really seems to talk about that anymore, it's just kind of funny. But for a perk with so much history that's been so endlessly complained about for so long, what could even be done? Because it is a necessary evil to stop tunneling, but tunneling is also a necessary evil many times. Honestly, for this one, I just don't know. If you have any ideas of how to change it, go right ahead, tell me in the comments, but I actually just don't know for this one, and behavior doesn't seem to either. So moving on. Maybe make the stun time longer on like stronger killers. That would take way too much effort though, they're never gonna do that. Number 4, Shoulder the Burden. Much like Reassurance, this perk has pure intentions, but holy shit, it can be abused. Shoulder the Burden essentially acts as a Decisive Strike you can use on a teammate. If someone is being tunneled and they're on second hook, you can just shoulder their burden, giving yourself the hook state and becoming exposed. Here's the thing though, if you're a Swift running 2 or 3 of these, if the killer goes for the survivor with shoulder after they get unhooked and get exposed, which they're supposed to do based off the perk's design, they are now on death hook. But if somebody else with 0 hook states comes and shoulders them, you can just brain dead trade hook states now instead of already having somebody dead. Instead of having somebody dead, 3 survivors are now on their first hook state, which is unbelievably broken. This is utterly game-breaking, but insanely rare as it requires a ton of coordination, but the fact that you can make the killer's objective this much longer is horrifying game design. It would be like if the killer had a perk to move all the progress from one generator to another across the map, and then add an 8th generator to the trial that you have to complete. Like, it's not quite that extreme, but you get what I mean. Even using this perk the way it was intended is insanely stupid. Once again, in the current landscape of DBD, as a lot of killers, you can't just simply 12 hook everybody without tunneling at least a little bit. This perk by itself with one use adds an extra hook state to the match, which is insane considering how bad the math is already on killer. Yes, it gives it to the person who unhooked, just tunnel them as they're exposed, lol. But even if they don't get shouldered by someone else, they still took a guy who was on death hook and required 1 more chase to 2 players who are on their first hook, and now require 2 more chases each. If you don't see how broken this is, I don't want to talk to you. So how would I change it? I mean, it's a novel concept and could possibly be built into the base game itself if the survivors are really struggling, but as a perk, I'd say only allow it to be used once per match ever on anybody. If anybody else has this perk and somebody else uses it, just deactivate it for the remainder of the trial, please. And instead of a puny 40 seconds of exposed that only works on M1s and can be shortened significantly by a certain other perk that I'll get into in a minute, just make the survivor lose a health state and become broken for a minute. This is pretty much the same thing as being exposed, but it works with all killer powers, and it requires the survivor to spend time healing if the broken expires, instead of just shrugging off the exposed. It's still an undeniably top tier perk with these changes, but hopefully this will make it a little bit more healthy. Number 3, Vigil. Holy shit, I hate this perk. This has got to be the most overtuned number out of any perk in the entire game. Like, look at this shit. Increases the recovery rate of blindness, broken, exhausted, exposed, hemorrhage, hindered, mangled, and oblivious by 66% in a radius with a linger. Like, I don't think I have to say more. The big bad one here is obviously Exhaustion, leading to the most broken type of survivor perk to have essentially 0 downside. You can get your sprint burst back in like 20 seconds, basically a free health state. It is indescribably broken. That alone would be enough to make it unhealthy, even if it only worked on you, but it counters so many things in the game, I cannot believe it still exists in this state. It hard counters Freddy and Clown's hinder effects, as well as pretty much all the status effects caused by various perks and add-ons. You want to use friends till the end? Well, sorry, you're exposed doesn't mean shit anymore. Sloppy Butcher? Who cares? 'Tis but a scratch. If you want to know how insanely broken this perk is, just watch this JC Glitchmaster video that goes into more detail about the math. So what would I do to change it? Nerf the numbers, first of all. Holy shit. 66% is madness. I would put it back down to 35% and have it only work on self-inflicted status effects like the broken from Deliverance, so it doesn't hard counter the entirety of certain killers by just existing. It can work on Exhaustion in a radius like it used to. I don't care. It was kind of fine how it was. 20% would be a little bit too little, I'd say. But this number is absolutely insane. This entire perk is just a one-size-fits-all. Unlike Unbreakable or Decisive, where they activate once per match and could be entirely useless if you never get slugged or tunneled, build, it is physically impossible to bring this perk with an exhaustion perk and not get huge brain dead value for doing literally nothing. Like, ugh, like just get this shit out of my face. It used to stack too. Like as early as before the Kursu patch, it stacked, by the way. I shudder at the thought of a 10-second sprint burst. Like, let's just move on. Let's just go. Number 2, sprint burst and exhaustion in general. Exhaustion perks have basically always been the survivor equivalent of slowdown perks strength-wise and popularity-wise. It's very common in your matches for all 4 survivors to have some kind of exhaustion perk equipped and get easy brain dead value out of it. Obviously not all of them are created equal. I'd say the 2 at the very top are sprint burst and life. Sprint burst lets you essentially start out the chase with a huge advantage, getting you to anything you want with 0 counterplay from the killer side and escaping dead zones, or just pre-running the shit out of them. You can even 99 it and use it mid-chase, which is insanely broken. Life, on the other hand, is much easier to use, but much like sprint burst, it acts as a free health state, essentially. You vault a window or a pallet, and you get a massive speed boost. It is insanely brain dead, but it's been in the game for so long, we just sort of accept it, I guess. The main issue I have with exhaustion perks in general is how over-reliant survivors have become on these crutches, and how easy they are to use with very little effort, and spammable too, even without Vigil. But another huge issue with exhaustion in general and the whole W playstyle it incentivizes just makes weak killers already weaker, while stronger killers barely give a shit. A Blight would not care that much that you use life, but an exhaustion perk in the right spot versus, let's say, a ghost face could add another 20 to 30 or even longer to your chase. Survivors have nothing like this at all, and the supposed killer equivalent of gen regression requires you to actually outplay and down survivors to get value out of most of the best perks. The only strong killer perks that require you to do absolutely nothing like this are Deadlock and No One Escapes Death, and that's basically it. Exhaustion has been in this game for so unbelievably long that it's kind of become a staple. Sprint Burst is debatably the most iconic survivor perk besides maybe Decisive Strike. So what would I do? Honestly, one of 2 things. Either have the speed, like I'm serious, instead of 50% on every exhaustion perk, make it 25%. People would still use this shit like all the time, but it would make it hurt a lot less for lower tier killers. Or the answer that I like a bit more is tie them to hook states like Dead Hard. Dead Hard is already a pretty stupid perk and probably the 3rd strongest exhaustion perk, but at least you can't spam it constantly. I'd say if you're gonna do anything, just have exhaustion as a status effect, not come back until you're hooked, so the killers can at least bait out an exhaustion perk and then leave you knowing you won't have another one. Unlike Dead Hard, I think it's fine for all these perks to be available at the beginning of the match too, but Sprint Burst would be a little bit tricky since you have it available right away, and you just waste it the second you start sprinting. Maybe make the perk start you exhausted to prevent this. I don't know, whatever. It's the best I can think of. Before number 1, let's get into some quick honorable mentions. There will be no exhaustion perks in here in general, like Dramaturgy, since the last entry is pretty much exhaustion in general. Adrenaline. Honestly, it's pretty fine now. The reduced speed boost and it not affecting off hook was a great change overall. Strong, but mostly healthy. Babysitter. An incredibly overtuned anti-tunnel perk for your teammate. Basically the modern day borrowed time. Pretty powerful, but nowhere near as much of a second chance as Off the Record or Decisive Strike or Shoulder the Burden. Botany Knowledge. Possibly the most simple perk in the entire game, but much like Vigil has incredibly overtuned numbers. Resetting should not be this free and easy, just revert it, please. Built to last. One of my favorite survivor perks in the game, makes incredibly broken items even more broken, essentially allowing you to triple their use with a short time investment. Really broken on God medkits and toolboxes. I don't know why they buffed it. Deja Vu. Very unassuming, but incredibly powerful for stopping 3-genning. Constant faster repairs add up, and it's even stronger when communicating gen locations in Swift. Don't underestimate this one. It's very good, but not unhealthy. Iron Will. You don't make sound. Killers cannot track you and chase through walls. You can stealth right next to them. It's pretty dumb. Lucky Break. Very underrated. If combined with Overcome, it's basically a free chase escape like 90% of the time, and with a medkit you can get it back really easily. It's just really, really good at wasting the killer's time early on. Off the Record. Gives you 1 million different effects off hook. You can use it offensively like Decisive Strike. It's just incredibly overtuned. Plot Twist. Disgusting synergy with other perks like Conviction, Wicked, and Decisive Strike. On its own, it's a free reset and an anti-slugging tool. A surprisingly very versatile tool that can do all sorts of things, like disabling corrupt intervention, certain killer powers, or giving the entire team extra time in the endgame collapse. Unbelievably versatile, very broken actually. Resilience. Remove the window vault speed and stop letting people 99 their heals with it. It's just really bad, like stop. Resurgence. You can heal within mere seconds off hook, erasing all of the killer's pressure, especially when paired with other questionably balanced healing perks. It is insane. It could have taken the killer a minute to take a health state away from you, but you just get it back in like 2 seconds. It's also debatably an anti-tunnel perk too, and it actually kind of punishes you for not tunneling. Consider this one number 11, just please revert the buff back to 50%, please. Not all of these need a significant nerf or are super unhealthy, and there's a few more I could have mentioned, but whatever, I don't care at this point, let's just move on. Number 1 is a perk I despise to the core of my very soul. A perk that's only gotten 10 times worse with this palette density quality of life update, adding 30 brain dead god fillers to every every map and no dead zones. This perk allows you to path in such a robotic way, getting the absolute maximum value out of every resource on the map no matter how bad you are, and I know I use it all the time. Is it really stronger than all these aforementioned perks? Yes, I truly believe it is. And I'll use this window of opportunity to show you why I feel this way. This repulsive perk that turns mediocre survivors into brain-dead looping gods is going to be revealed in an upcoming video because I have a lot to say about it. So I'm just gonna pull a kill a whale here and give you my definitive rant on why this seemingly unassuming perk is so problematic in my eyes. Should be the video after my next Halloween video, but until then, thanks for watching. Not the type of stuff I'd usually make. It almost seems too normal for me, but I've realized as of late how much bullshit survivors have to work with right now, and I wanted to talk about it because no one else really is. This is the current state of DBD. Killer kill rates have silently fallen far below behavior's intended golden number of 60%. It was around like 63% over a year ago, but as they add broken perk after broken perk and all these stupid base kit buffs, it makes me wonder, will we ever get base kit corrupt or base kit slowdown for not tunneling? But this isn't my spot to talk about. This also isn't even mentioning the broken items survivors still have access to, as well as all the brain dead maps, but that's a discussion for another time. The insane perk variety they have right now just enhances all these problems. This may seem like a bit of a weird video for me, but honestly I wanted to give it my shot and discuss balancing in the current state of DBD. I'll leave the top 10 list to Azimobs for a while, because I have many more plans and a particular perk I want to rant about in the video after next video, so yeah, that'll be it. Anyways, yeah, bye.